bills are coming in, you're wondering how they're going to get paid, or maybe you're just bored and you like going out and visiting, seeing people, interacting with people. Well, let me tell you about Side Hustle and what I do, and maybe it's something good for you. Maybe you'll like it. I think you will. But you have to know what you're getting into. I kind of went into it blind a couple of years ago, and I learned along the way. So maybe there's some things here that can help you. And I'll be putting notes up on the screen as I go. So what is side hustle? Some people hate that word or that term. I can't say it's my favorite either, but when you say it, people know what you're talking about. Side hustle is basically anything that's not your primary occupation, where you're using an opportunity to make more money. And that can be selling things, that can be selling your services, or selling things for someone else. And in the case of this side hustle that I'm referring to, it's using your vehicle to make extra income. There's a couple different kinds of side hustle. We'll put them in order. Number one, rideshare. Rideshare is Uber and Lyft. Think of it, as the non-taxi person delivery service. So you get on their app and you say you want to be somewhere. You tell them where you are. Sometimes there's multiple stops, and the driver knows where you are, knows how to get you checked in safely and get you from point A to point B. Sometimes it's point A to point B to point C. The driver gets paid by the rideshare company based on the distance the driver has to drive. The capacity of the number of people that he's delivering or she's delivering. And surge pricing. Now, surge pricing is something that's not unique to rideshare, but basically it's supply and demand. So if the demand is higher in a certain area, the cost to get from point A to point B is going to be a little higher. The rideshare company obviously doesn't give all that money to the driver, and it's estimated that in some cases they get as little as 40%. But the rideshare driver can decide whether or not they want to take that drive. Now, both rideshare companies that reward you based on how many of the offers that you take that come in. So you can look at offers and decide whether or not it's for you. Maybe it's all the way across town and you'd have to deadhead all the way back. And deadhead, I'll put the definition on the screen here, but it's basically you drive all the way someplace and you get paid for it, and you don't get paid to come back the other way. Well, that's the way rideshare is. So your best rides, your best choices in choosing what to take is going to be something that brings you back the other way, or keeps you in an area where you don't have to go very far to pick up your next ride. So you have less deadhead miles as you go. So of the percentage that you get paid for the ride share, that's your side hustle money. How do you get paid? One of two ways. Actually, there's three ways. The first way is you sign up to get cashed out once a week directly to your bank account via ACH transaction, and they'll just automatically send it to your bank account. That can take anywhere from 1 to 3 business days. They usually do it on Monday or Tuesday so that you have it before the weekend. It's been my experience that it always comes in within 2 days, so I never really had to wait. The second way is that you can do an instant cash out. There's a cost to that, though. Say it's $50 and you want to cash it out. You're probably going to have to pay between $1.50 and $2 to cash that money out for the privilege of getting your money early. The third option is the rideshare companies also have their own premier debit card that you can put the money on anytime you want. You can cash out as many times as you want, and they don't charge you extra for it. But basically, you're putting your money in their bank on a debit card that they give you access to. The debit card works like anybody else's. Now let's talk about why you'd want to do rideshare, and then we'll talk about maybe the reasons you might not. The reason that you want to do rideshare: one, making money, which we already talked about. That's awesome. Say if you like driving around anyway, and you like meeting new people, then you're making money. The second is that, meeting people, having conversations. Some people that you pick up, they don't like to talk at all. My method is always, if they decide to start a conversation, then you can speak with them. I would avoid politics. I would avoid controversial subjects. And the rideshare company tells you to do that anyway. But, avoid things that are controversial and just, how are you doing? Basically, what do you think of this weather? But let them lead the conversation and you can have a pleasant ride. Some people may just want to sit there quietly, which is fine too. They'll just sit there and play on their phone the whole time. And all you have to really do is announce that you're almost to where you're taking them, thank them for their time, make sure they didn't forget anything in your vehicle. People forget their phones a lot. And I've caught most people before they left the car with their phone in my back seat. But a couple of people that said that they had their phone, I ended up going to the next ride and discovered that they had left their phone in the back seat. The rideshare company will tell you how to get it back to the customer. So they all have ways to do that, so don't you worry about that. Those are the reasons why you might want to do it. Reasons that you might not, and things that you have to look out for. One, you have to have a vehicle that's newer. I don't think they'll let you use a vehicle that's older than 10 years. You also have to have a vehicle that's got 4 doors and is in good condition. So it can be 10 years old, it could be 2 years old, but if it's all banged up, they're not going to pass inspection because you have to do an inspection with them. It can be virtual, but you have to do a walk around and show all parts of your vehicle, inside and out, including tire wear. So if your car looks ratty, they're not going to let you use your car for rideshare. Second, the wear and tear on the vehicle that you use is yours to pay for. The rideshare company doesn't pay you for that. You do. You're responsible for maintenance and good working condition of the vehicle. So as long as you know that, and as long as you're okay with that, then it's fine. You pay for your own gas. They don't give you gas money or fuel money, or if you use an electric car, they don't pay you for the electricity that you use. That's on you. So you have to budget all this stuff. Another thing that you should be aware of, you're responsible for paying the taxes on the money that you make because you're considered a third-party contractor. So all the income you make, you have to pay taxes on. Now you can put expenses against it, whether you do mileage or whether you're going to do expenses on the vehicle, which includes maintenance and mileage, because the IRS lets you do it 2 different ways. Because aside from specialized circumstances, you're not operating a fleet as a business. It's your personal vehicle. So you have to file your taxes that way. And if you use your vehicle for personal purposes, you have to diligently track the mileage that you put on your vehicle for personal use, for business use. And if you can't prove that, the IRS will not let you deduct anything for the use of that vehicle. So you have to know how to do it. Now, I used a app, and I still use it for other things. It's called Everlance. I'm not affiliated with them, but it works on Android and iPhone. And it will track in the background the mileage that you drive, starting and stopping points. And then you just go into the app and you tell it what that mileage was for. It's great. You can even put expenses in there. So like if you bought gas that day, or you had a meal and it was part of your business purposes. And I'm not going to tell you how to track that for tax purposes because I'm not a tax attorney. I'm not a tax accountant. You're going to have to look that up. But I do know that if you're out a certain amount of time for business purposes, then you can deduct some of those things. So that's for you to figure out. Another reason that you may want to be concerned, or at least aware of, there are ne'er-do-well people out there that will take advantage of a rideshare driver. One is in-car safety. Now, the rideshare companies vet people that are signing up by keeping track of the people that aren't so nice in the app all the time, or there have been many reports of being caustic to the drivers and things like that. But nothing is 100%. So it's up to you to decide what's safe and what's not safe to do. As a driver, you can get to a destination, and if you don't think that it's safe, say maybe it's dark and it doesn't look like any place you'd be picking somebody up, and there's nobody there, they don't expect you to wait around to get carjacked or mugged. In the app, you can just say, this is not a safe area and this person is nowhere to be found. They give you every opportunity to reach out to that person via text or phone. They don't see your phone number because you do it through the app. But they give you the right to do that. It's still, though, a risk that you're going to want to consider. I know, and I've talked to a lot of rideshare drivers that have had concerns like that. And I've turned down rides when I showed up someplace and it didn't look right. I didn't get penalized for it either. So you can do the same thing. Another thing you should watch out for are opportunists. I don't know that if you live in an area where every third billboard is one of these accident attorneys that put their signs up and say, been involved in an accident with a big truck, been involved in an accident with a rideshare driver. Yeah, they're targeting you. And what people do that aren't quite so honest is they'll see that sign in your window because you have to show the sign for the rideshare company that you're working for. It's part of their requirements. But people that don't have good intentions will see that sign in your window and see that as an opportunity for a payday. I know they're few and far between, but it happens. Either by brake checking you in front of you, or by pretending to be hit by you and rolling on the ground and thinking that it's your word against theirs. Now, if you have a dash cam, like I do, like what I'm using right now, you can make an attempt to prove them wrong. But in car versus pedestrian accidents, the police are going to assume that you're at fault. And in a lot of states, there's no way around it. You're at fault. It can affect your car insurance. It can affect your personal liability. If it goes to court, they can sue you. It can mean that they can seize your assets. It's a big deal. So you have to be aware that risk is out there too. Speaking of insurance, most auto insurance providers have a rider that you can put on your account for rideshare. It's not a lot of money, but if you don't have it on there and you're involved in an accident while you're doing rideshare, they can drop you from that policy and they will not pay for your accident. So you have to contact your company before you make a decision to do rideshare and ask them if they have a rider for doing rideshare for the vehicle that you drive with them. So anyway, enough doom and gloom. As long as you've done your research and you want to do rideshare, that's great. Okay, let's talk about side hustle opportunity number 2 with your car. This is kind of like number 1, but number 2 is just slightly different. Food delivery, like made-to-order food delivery. So we're talking, you take your car, you go to a restaurant, you pick up the food, and then you take it to the person who ordered it. So we're talking about delivery companies like Postmates and Uber Eats and DoorDash. Those companies are in business to deliver food and other things, but deliver food. So the plus is, if you're not good with customer interaction or people interaction, maybe you don't want somebody in your car, then you can do this. There's not the same requirement for your car's appearance necessarily, but your car still has to be safe to drive. There's not the inspection process of how good it looks, but it still has to be safe to drive. It's street legal. In some cities, they will let you use a motorbike, motorized vehicle, motorized two-wheel vehicle, or even a bicycle. The advantages are what I described about you don't have to really worry too much about the age of your vehicle, but it has to be street legal and it has to be in working, safe condition. You don't really have to have people in your car, and you shouldn't have people in your car. Just you. And then you deliver the food to the address that you're going to. And if you're efficient at it, you can make pretty good money at it. The other pro is people seem to tip more on food deliveries. At least it was my experience. They seem to tip more on food deliveries than they do on rideshare, which I don't understand. You think that you're delivering a person in good health and safely to a destination. You think that'd be worth more, but they tip more on food. So I guess because food makes you happy, All right, let's talk about the downside of delivering food. One, you're going to be running more. Two, the places you take food to seem to be a lot more apartment buildings and maybe places that are harder to park at, because you can't just leave your car with the four-ways on a busy street. The days of seeing that like in the movies and stuff are long gone. They'll tow your vehicle. or you'll get a ticket or something. So just be aware of that. If you don't like getting out of your car and going up steps in an apartment building or finding the correct elevator to go up to, maybe that's not your thing. Maybe this isn't your thing. The other downside of this is one of the same reasons as it is for rideshare, is that you're responsible for the wear and tear on your vehicle and the fuel and the insurance. Another thing, remember, you're responsible for tracking your income and your expenses and knowing what and how to pay those taxes. You're responsible for that. The other thing is, I guess you could say this about rideshare too, but delivering food is, whatever you're delivering, at least to a small degree, the inside of your car is going to smell like. So for instance, if you're delivering fish and that bag's not sealed correctly, your car is going to smell like fish. I'm not saying that you would spill it on anything, but it's just a very profound smell. Now, if it's like burgers or fries or something, I think that smells great. That's not a bad thing. But know that will happen. The next kind of side hustle is what they call last mile delivery. And that's what I'm doing right now. Last mile delivery is a person will order something from a store that's not just prepared food. So they can be ordering food, they can be ordering construction materials, they can be ordering bottled water. They can be ordering many different things that get delivered to you as last mile. So the delivery company finds somebody like you to take that from the pickup location at a store and taking it to the customer. And everything is tracked in the app. Now, there are two different kinds of last mile delivery. Well, actually, there's three. But I'll comment on that third one and how it's different and it's rare. The first kind of last mile delivery is shopping on demand. So think Instacart. Instacart is you put an order in with a grocery store or a department store, and that store hires a service, which you'll work with because you're a contractor, to go and pick the items. So they call you a picker. You pick the items, you keep track of the items that you're purchasing, you make substitutions as allowed by the end user, by the buyer. They give you an opportunity to communicate with that person through the app. You gather that order, you pay for it using the method that is provided to you by, say, Instacart, and then you deliver it to the customer and confirm delivery. Sometimes the customer wants to greet you in person, but most of the time they just want you to leave it in a safe place, like the front door or at the side door or something like that. So that's the first way, the first type. The second type is order pickup only. So the store that you're getting the items from has already done the shopping for you. They pick the order. They have their own pickers. They go pick the order. They put it there for the driver to come pick up, verify the pickup, verify the customer name, verify the customer order number, pick up that order, and take it to the purchaser. So you can see the pros and cons between the first and second circumstance. Because in the first circumstance, you have to go into the store, you have to pick the items, you have to sort the items, you have to make sure that the right orders get to the right people if you're doing multiple orders in the same stop, which can happen. And then you have to load it in your vehicle and get it to the end user. You're also responsible for keeping cold things cold and warm things warm. So you have to have things like heat/cold bags that you can put things in, which aren't that expensive, but you're responsible for that. For last mile delivery, where the store picks the item, you're responsible for getting the item from inside the store at the pickup area, verifying that it's complete, that all the items are in the order, transporting those items to the end user safely and without damage. So stores that would fit into that second category are, say, Sam's Club. Somebody buys a TV, and that TV has to be transported safely from the store to the end user. So you have to have a vehicle big enough to do it. you have to transport it as designed, and TVs aren't supposed to be laid down. They're supposed to be standing up when delivered, so you have to be able to do stuff like that, or appliances or anything like that. So it could be Sam's Club, it could be a warehouse home improvement store, so think Lowe's and Home Depot. You'll pick up everything from a bag of items because somebody's painting in their house, doing a job in their house, and it's just a gallon of paint, a couple of brushes, and some rags, to you're delivering, toilets and some plumbing to a housing development for a new house build. So you have to have, number one, the strength, because you can't take people with you on these deliveries. Number two, the tools that you need to transport and move these things. So you have to have something like a hand truck and straps to be able to load this in a vehicle that's big enough to do it, and then transport it to the site where you're going to go. So, which I don't think is a big deal, because I do it all the time. And they pay more too. So the heavier the load, the larger the load, as long as your vehicle can do it, the more you're going to get paid. Now that applies to things like Instacart shopping too, because if people are buying huge cases of water or a bunch of dog food that weighs a lot, just think more than 50 pounds an item. It's about that. They pay a premium for it, and it's usually a couple of bucks, a couple of extra bucks. So maybe that's something that interests you. That applies to picker kind of shopping like Instacart, and for last mile delivery where they pick it for you. Heavy items. So those are the two main types of last mile delivery. There is a third type, and Uber is experimenting with this in larger markets where they consider it parcel delivery. So maybe there's a tire store with multiple locations and they need the tires taken from one store to another store. So that's basically a parcel delivery where you're picking it up in one place and taking it to another. Think of like UPS, but not going through their system, where you're picking it up and taking it directly to the other place instead of going back to the UPS warehouse and getting reshipped to the new location. And it's usually same day. Now, I haven't done those kind of deliveries for Uber, and it is available in the metros around here, but know that that's an option. It sounds like anything else that you would do last mile, and you probably get rewarded the same way, but you're under the rules of what Uber does instead. Postmates does similar things for last mile delivery in addition to delivering food. I'll see if I can find any information on that, but Postmates really isn't very popular around here. So I can't comment too much on that because I haven't used it. But I know they do. In the end, is it worth it? Well, it has been for me. I mean, it's very entertaining. And yeah, there's bad days, but I mean, there's good days too. I mean, look at the weather. It's a bright and sunny day. And if you do have to work and you get to be outside, it's a good day. Now, on days when it's raining, yeah, it's a little miserable, but, dress appropriately. Yeah, I think it's worth it. I'm very mindful of the wear and tear that I put on my vehicle. I'm big on maintenance, so I'm not really worried about that. The rest of the negative aspects, I don't really mind as much. Let me talk about the biggest difference between how you take jobs for rideshare as opposed to last mile delivery. The biggest difference is rideshare, you're rewarded for taking as many rides as you're offered as possible. So, and the chances are you'll get better rides if you're taking more rides. Now that can mean that you take a bunch of crappy ones to get the better ones, because you might only get a ride that pays you $6. You might have to be driving around downtown to do it. So the distance from point A to point B might not be that much, but in traffic, it's going to take you a while to get it done. So you're going to have to take a lot of those kind of rides to build yourself up to having a reputation of having, say, an 85% acceptance rate or higher. So you'll get rewarded for that. It doesn't work quite the same way with last mile delivery. Last mile delivery is you see all the offers that come up and you can choose whether or not you're going to take them. And you're not necessarily rewarded on how many you took in a row of everything that you saw. because the offer goes into a pool where all the drivers see it at once, and you bid for it. So it doesn't mean that you're changing the amount that's offered. You just say, okay, I want to take that order. And then the company will say, well, that driver is closer to the pickup destination and it's verified that they've got a vehicle that can actually deliver this stuff. So I'm going to choose that driver. Now, they do give you more. I don't know the algorithm for it, but both Instacart and Roadie have somewhere in their algorithm something that keeps track of your success rate of on-time deliveries and how many orders you've taken and what your percentage of deliveries without complaint was, things like that. But they don't hold you to punishing you for not having an 85% acceptance rate or something like that, because you could see a whole bunch of things come up, offers, and not take any of them because they don't meet your needs. Personally, I'm okay with choosing the ones that have longer miles as long as I don't have to deadhead too much and not get paid to come back the other way. I'm okay with taking heavier deliveries because it pays more, and I'm able. But I'll let ones go that are like one pickup location and like 9 deliveries that will take an estimated 3 hours to get done. And the cost per mile that they're paying me back for the mileage you got to drive is less than 50 cents a mile. It might not be worth it for me because I'm driving a big vehicle. Now, if you're driving a smaller SUV and you're not hauling lumber or toilets or 90-inch TVs, maybe it makes sense for you and you can just do that. But personally, I don't always take those. Sometimes it is worth it. Sometimes, like yesterday, I took an order. I made a pet supply store pickup, and it was for 7 different deliveries. But I looked, and because you can see the delivery route when you look at the offer, and they were all pretty close. But the last one brought me back to pretty much where I started or nearby, so that I could be back in an area that has a lot more opportunities for picking up more deliveries. So I took it. And it took me an hour and 45 minutes to get 7 of them done. And the return to me was worth it because the cost per mile was closer to 85 cents, which for me, driving around in a big old truck, makes a lot more sense for me to get paid closer to $1 a mile. If you can get $1 a mile on these last mile deliveries, you're doing well. They don't come along very often, and they get snatched up really quick. But if you can find those, great. But if you hover between 70 and 85 cents per mile return, then it makes it worth it for you. So that's the wrap up on what. No, that's not the wrap up. So to finish my attempt at wrapping up, is it worth it? I believe so. But you have to choose the right kind of side hustle using your vehicle that works for you. That's pretty much the overview of how it all works. And having done each of these things, that comes from personal experience. I'm not an authority on this stuff. There are plenty of people out there that are. But having done it for years now, on the side here and there, I can tell you that it's been worth it. And there's more good than bad that goes into it. So, is it for you? I think it could be. It's a good thing. It's a feel-good thing. Like right now, I'm finishing up my probably last delivery for the afternoon, and I feel productive. I got a lot done today. I got to meet a lot of good people. Smiles from everybody. Nobody was grumpy. It's not always that way, but I do my best to make my smile infectious, and I ask people how they're doing when I meet them, and it's because I genuinely want to know, how are you doing? And it seems to be infectious, and people kind of loosen up, and they'll talk to you, and they're less likely to be nasty to you if you're nice to them first. Just saying. Anyway, let me know in the comments if any of these things you think might work for you, or if you have questions that I can answer from my personal experience. I'll answer your questions. Or if you have something that you want to add, put it in the comments. If you think that this would be helpful for a friend, share this video. Click on the share and send them the link for this. Because if somebody else can benefit from this, if somebody else has credit cards that are asking for their money from all the purchases you made for the holidays, maybe this is for them. Do that. And if you could, because YouTube doesn't know if you like this kind of stuff, unless you actually click the little thumbs up button and like the video. And subscribe if you would. If you subscribe to my channel, I take you on my adventures and have little anecdotes along the way, and I've got lots of stories. And it seems to be entertaining for some people, so subscribe to the channel. It really helps. Thanks for hanging in there. Do your best side hustle. Be authentic. Be safe. You'll get out of it exactly what you put into it. Go into it with an open mind and be a happy person. Thanks.